What I think happened when I was, let's say, when I was a kid, and it started with the whole like empowerment of women, which I loved. I was the first one to jump on that train because it's what we wanted at that stage was equality. We didn't want to take over the men's roles, and that was never the idea behind it. There was never like, oh, there's no space for men anymore because we can do it by ourselves. It was like we just want the same rights. We want the same rights to vote. We want the same rights to choose our life,
Yes.
to choose education.
Yes.
It was something that was supposed to be there anyways. And then I think because there was so much rage kept in women for such a long time, it just went into a completely different direction, where now it was like we need to punish men. and I feel that this energy is taking over now, especially like, whoever is like showing up any kind of masculine trait, even especially the good ones, we're like, no, bad boy. And no, it's really that is really happening. And then you have this whole horde of women now, because I've seen that on the internet, I've seen it in the therapies, and I've seen it everywhere, that are overwhelmed because they took on too much on themselves. They were like, we can do everything now, and now we're all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
both women and men at the same time. And they're not happy with their partners because they're like, he's not doing anything for me. Or like they can't find the partners because they're like looking for something, that almost doesn't exist, and in a way that would only be able to exist if you let it exist. So it's like a catch-22. So in order to have a man beside you, you need to let him be a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've seen more and more of that, and that's why I said, like, okay, like we need to stop with this toxic feminism, because there's not going to be any men left, and it's getting really
Yeah.
bad because
Yeah.
generation of my mothers that were deeply frustrated with men in their lives, so a lot of them were alcoholics, a lot of them were abusive, were raising the sons to literally hate themselves for being men. So all this frustration that they had with the husbands just poured into the sons. And now
Yeah.
you have the entire generation of men that even feel that being a man is something bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And carry that
Yeah.
guilt. Yeah, it's crazy. And I see that unfolding more and more. So more and more in therapies, I'm getting this almost guilt that the sons are carrying for the fathers.
Oh, yeah. 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 Even I have observed this also with some of the male clients that I worked with, the men I have worked with, and I think I have also experienced it somewhere, more or less, which I realized only when I actually entered, when I started training in constellation work, studying about it, is when I started to realize that what's happening is somewhere unconsciously, I am going and standing with my mother, and I'm taking my mother's side. So, what happens is when you start taking sides, you are you cannot be in the center.
Yeah.
You cannot have an equal view of life, an equidistant, or let's say an equitable view about life, a balanced view about life. So when this was happening, I realized how much of a resentment was getting developed in me towards my father.
Mm.
And that, of course, there are other layers to it, because uh, there are their own relationship dynamics as well, the mother and father's relationship dynamics. And if you are not even taking the side of mother or father, inadvertently, if the relationship dynamics are shaky or going through a rough patch, it is going to trickle down to the children. And
Yes.
that is why again and again, if you remember, our elders, grandparents, great grandparents, they would always emphasize not to fight in front of children. You know, they
Mm.
would tell the newlyweds, don't fight in front of children. You know,
Yeah, we had the same in
don't they
Croatia.
or
Yeah.
they would if yeah, if they would fight, they would tell the children go out of the house. They would send them
Yeah.
away. Why? Why would they do that? Because they understood what impact it has on a child's memory, intelligence, and
Mm.
the mind itself.
Mm-hmm.
When the child sees all of that happening again and again in their house, parents arguing, fighting, throwing things at each other, this and that, the abuse going on one way or the other, the child starts to take sides. Or if he or she does not take sides, then of course, the child is going to reject his or her parents completely, outrightly.
Yeah.
And especially in case of boys, in case of men, if you talk about, uh,
Yeah.
the first person that they disconnect the most with is the father.
Yes.
First and foremost, they inadvertently land up taking the side of mother more in most cases. And when they do that, they are they have become so sort of enmeshed with the mother that now they cannot look at the father. That space that father creates or gives or provides, they are unable to absorb that space, right? And remember, we are 50% father, 50% mother.
Mm.
Rejecting anyone is becoming merged with that more and more, getting
Yes.
entangled with that more and more. As they say, what you resist, it will always persist. So the
Yes.
more you resist your father, the more his anger, his entanglements, they get strengthened and strong within you. So now, as a man, as a young guy or a teenager, what happens is that you start hating your father, and you are you're so much leaning on to your mother that your own individuation becomes difficult to happen. And when that
Yeah.
happens, that's where we get all these issues where uh, men become more emasculated. They find it
Mm.
difficult to find a partner, or let's say trust love, right?
Yes.
Or even for that matter, show up fully as a man. And it's not just about a romantic relationship. People think that it's only about a romantic.
It's about
Even in
everything.
general, yeah, so even in general, if a man or if a guy in that condition, if he is more or less emasculated in any which ways, even in general, if he has female friends, relatives, cousins or sisters, he will be unable to fully and freely express his manliness, his masculine his traits,
Mm.
attributes. And the women or the woman might find that what's wrong with this guy? There's nothing wrong with this guy. The problem actually is that he is struggling to fully express, he's scared to fully express his
Yeah.
masculinity.
Yeah.
And why? Because he's been conditioned that way.
Mm.
He's been told again and again that if you be a man, I'm going to destroy you,
Mm.
or he has somehow taken this message from his ancestry or his parents that, being a man is something so bad, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so hurtful that, I mean, the hearts are going to break one day or the other. You can't help it. And
Yeah.
this emasculated man or guy or boy will become more and more full of anger and resentment.
Yes.
And one day, what happens is this emasculated, resentful guy is going to take extreme measures in his life. Either he's going to become an addict, or he's going to try and take his life.
Yeah.
People
Or
think that
something
these are very
worse.
simple. Yes, yes, yes. Either or of course he'll take somebody else's life. I'm not saying everybody has to do it or is doing it or will do it, but it leaves that kind of gap for such
Yeah.
possibilities, for such dark possibilities to emerge.
Emotions bubble up. Emotions bubble
Yeah,
up, and they will
yeah,
have to get out at some point. There's
yes,
no other way
yes,
to do it.
yes,
In psychology, we
yes.
say mother is the most important person in a child's life for the first 3 years. And then father is very important after that, because the father is going to be the one to stop mother from over sheltering the child. And this is very important for sons, because the father is going to be like, okay, stop, you need to let him go. You need to let him experience the world. You need to let him, run and get injured, like get a scratch. It's not the end of the world, because our mothers can't control themselves. That's why fathers are there to actually stop us. So
exactly.
In a way, and there's more and more this kind of marriages that fall apart, and there is only mother is taking the role of both mother and father in children's lives. And you see more and more on that. Or I've seen a lot of examples where the child is being raised by the mother and grandmother. So imagine two women raising a son. It's not like they want to do a bad job. It's just they don't know how to do it better. And often the father is either gone, or it was never even there, or just abandoned the child. And of course, if you're a male child raising up in those kind of circumstances, it's like, first of all, you don't have any kind of male role model to start with. There's no one there. I mean, children are super resourceful. They find role models even in neighbors or teachers, or they are able to, but there's no real role model, and the boys are completely lost. Like, what does a man even mean? What being a man means. I've seen more and more of that. And, the society and the media is telling them nothing. We're not getting anything from the media at the moment.